Hi, this is John with Fix-It Planet. Today we're going to replace the screen on this Galaxy S9. We will be replacing it with the screen and the housing, or the screen and the frame, all together as one part. First we're going to heat it up. We've heated it up on a hot plate. We're going to start a little gap down here at the bottom. We'll use our pick to go around the edges and separate the adhesive for the back glass. Be careful of the fingerprint sensor. I'll show that here in a moment. Accidentally turned it on and won't be able to turn it off because I don't have the swipe code. So right here's the fingerprint sensor and the cable is plugged in right here. To get a closer look here, you can just see the connector right there. You can see the cable right here. So be sure that you don't shove your pick too far in. You can go pretty far. There is some adhesive further in a little bit, not just around the edges. So you do have to separate that adhesive as well, but just be careful that you don't snag that cable or pull the back glass off before disconnecting it. And if you do a good job, you can keep your adhesive fully intact and it can be reused, or you can replace it if you prefer. So now we'll just take all these screws out. They are all the same size and they are Phillips. Since we are replacing the screen with the frame assembly and everything pre-sealed from the manufacturer, then the benefit of that is you're going to get, it's easier to do the repair, but you're also going to get the benefit of the waterproofing. The water resistance will be the same as it would have been from the factory. The only thing you have to worry about is the back glass. The adhesive around the back glass needs to be in perfect condition to reuse, or you need to replace it. So we're removing the antenna caps, and they all fit together just a little bit like a puzzle, along with the NFC antenna. Now we're going to disconnect the battery. And remove the SIM tray, which I usually forget to do. Now we can disconnect all of our cables and our antennas. It's been over a month since I've uploaded, so this will be the first video in a while. I've been really super busy, and we've just moved from the upstairs location to a larger space downstairs in the same building that we've been in for the last 3 years. So I'm super excited about that. And I did do some video just disconnecting the main logic board from the charging dock connector. I did some video progress, showing sort of progress as we were moving in. I want to get that uploaded for everybody to see. And I have some other videos as well. I have a new computer build that I did a video on. I want to get that uploaded. So we have the battery, we have the charging dock connector, the vibrator, the sensors, the flash, the headphone jack. All of those things are going to come out of this old housing and be transferred over to the new one. And we just have those 5 screws for the charging dock assembly and the headphone jack, which plugs in right there. Just disconnected it. There's our headphone jack. And our charging dock assembly. We'll just warm up the sensors and the flash just a little bit. It's kind of stuck down. So we'll soften that up a little bit and we'll be able to pry it loose. And that's everything right there. We'll go ahead and warm up the vibrator just a little bit as well. And it's also stuck down a little bit with some adhesive. We just need to pry it loose. Now for the battery, we're going to inject 100% alcohol here, or 99%, whichever you prefer. 90% or above is fine. And we're going to let that soak for a while. And that's going to sort of soften up that adhesive, break it down a little bit, make it real easy to pull the battery out. Now that does take longer than that. That's actually a bit of a cut in time there, a little bit of a cheat. Just be aware that it will have to sit for about 10 minutes. Now we're going to get our new display and frame assembly and pull all the masking off and get it ready to put all those components back in it. So we're just going to use our own adhesive here to hold the battery down in place. Before we stick it down, we're going to go ahead and make sure that we put everything together and test it before we stick the battery down permanently. So we're just going to transfer all of the parts from inside the original phone over to the new display assembly, to the new housing, or frame assembly, whichever you prefer to call it. Make sure that you run your cables back through the little channels where they belong so they don't overlap anything or get pinched. Now we can reconnect our antennas and all our cables. And we have snapped the motherboard back into the charging dock assembly connector. Make sure all your cables are seated properly. We will go ahead and connect our antenna caps. Yes, just make sure all your cables are seated all the way. They're plugged all the way in. Now we did a quick test of the screen. You should always do that before getting everything assembled completely. My cord wasn't actually plugged in, so I had to stop a second and plug it in. Now that it's plugged in, we'll be able to see that it does actually charge. So if we're satisfied that everything is working properly, we can go ahead and seal our battery up. Just remove the masking from our adhesive and stick our battery down. So I don't think I thought that I actually plugged in the motherboard to the charging dock assembly, but it turned out that my cable was just not plugged in. Dope. Once we get our little problems resolved there, we can go ahead and put all our screws back in. It can be a little bit tricky getting that fingerprint sensor cable plugged back in. But you do need to have it plugged in before you try to seal that back glass. I just use the spudger and try to get it down in there. So I'm trying to show everything. Once it's snapped into place, you can go ahead and seal it the back on. And then if the fingerprint sensor is actually plugged in, we don't have to take it back off again. Put our SIM tray back in. Now let's try plugging it in with the cable actually plugged in. Hey, what do you know? It helps if it's plugged in. I was just plugging it into a cable that's just dangling off the end of the bench. So we just run through a few quick tests. You can do a more thorough test. You can see it is actually charging, unlike the first time. Hope you liked it, enjoy it. Like and share, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye now.